you notice the very opening phrase, to test Abraham, God said. Test. What does that tell you about how this story evolves? To test Abraham, what does that say about you and me and our role in this story? Kind of like stage. Any of you ever done traditional kind of drama where you have the stage and you have the set with a wall here and a wall here and a wall here, and in traditional drama the action all happens here in the middle of the stage. Whatever's going to be said, whatever's going to be done, it either happens here or is implied here. You imagine it happening offset somewhere. You got the three walls, and in traditional theater there is also a fourth wall. What's the fourth wall? Anybody done that kind of theater, traditional theater? The fourth wall? The fourth wall is this wall. The people on the stage are doing their stuff here on the stage. They interact with each other. They talk to each other. Whatever happens here. And there is this fourth wall, this very unusual wall, that says that the people here can't see you. They can't hear you. So whatever you do or whatever you say doesn't influence what happens here. But on this side of the wall, where the audience sits, we can sit here and see through the wall, so we see what's happening. We can listen through the wall, so we hear what's happening. But what we say or do, we can offer advice, we can cheer. Whatever we do doesn't get through the wall. So the people on the stage have no idea what we are saying or what we are doing or what we are feeling. So you and I, in this little drama that is today's reading from Genesis, are on the audience side of the fourth wall. We sit here and we watch what's happening, we hear what's happening, and even though we know that it is a test, whatever that turns out to mean, we can't influence what happens here on the stage. We sit and our guts churn and we have all kinds of anxiety because this is a horrible, horrible play that's happening on the stage, but we can't in any way influence what's going on the stage. And so we sit in the audience and we listen and we watch as the voice speaks. Abraham has heard this voice before. He's heard it several times before, and every time he hears this voice, something really strange happens. The first time Abraham heard this voice, it was, Abraham, I know you're 75 years old and you're enjoying retirement and you're sitting in your rocking chair, but I want you to get up and pack everything you got and start this journey and just go, and I'll tell you where it ends. And all of that journey is driven by this voice that impels Abraham to go. So Abraham hears a voice. Abraham, take your son, the son you love, the only son you got. Take your son, the son that came to you through God's promise when you were 100 years old and Sarah was 90 years old. This very, very special son. Take your son, take him to the mountain I will show you, and offer him there as a burnt offering. We hear all of this and we sit in horror as Abraham goes and gets a donkey, goes and gets some wood, goes and gets the fire pot, goes and gets the knife, goes and gets his son, goes and gets a couple of servants, and away they trek toward the place that God has told him to watch. And we sit here and we watch and we cannot believe our eyes, we cannot believe our ears, we cannot imagine what is going on. Apparently Abraham can't either. He seems to walk in silence. There seems to be not a word spoken by anybody for 2 days as they trudge toward the point where God will take Abraham to go. And it seems almost as though Abraham is walking across the stage like this, until he gets to the spot where he finally raises his eyes and he sees in the distance the mountain where he needs to go. This is when finally he speaks for the first time. He says to the two men who are with him, you keep the donkey here, and the boy and I will go there and worship. Did you hear that word, worship? And we cringe because we know what this word worship means. And so Abraham takes the wood off of the donkey's back and ties it to the back of his boy. That's how we know that Isaac is a pretty good-sized boy. He's able to carry the wood for the sacrifice. And he's also able to piece together what's going on here, because finally Isaac is going to speak. Abraham puts the wood on the boy's back. He takes the fire pot so that he will have something to start the fire with, and he takes the knife, and the boy and Abraham start trudging across the stage, and we can hear them, and we know what's going on, and it's horrible. It horrifies us, and we want to say to Abraham, please, don't do this. Don't you have any wits about you? Don't you understand what's going on? Abraham, you can't do this. But Abraham is trudging along. We hear Isaac speak. Isaac is old enough to piece this together. Isaac has probably seen sacrifices before. Isaac knows the rules of the game. Father, he says. Abraham says, yes, we got the wood. I can feel it up my back. You got the fire pot, you got the knife, but where is the animal for the sacrifice? How would you like to be Abraham at that moment? Where is the animal for the sacrifice? And Abraham, maybe for the first time in the story, starts to hedge. We hear Abraham as he sort of hems and haws for a minute, saying to his son, God will provide. If that's a correct translation, it's the only place in the entire Hebrew Bible where that verb means provide. The verb always means see. Our word provision, I can see ahead what I'm going to need, and so I assemble what I need so that I'm ready for that moment. I can see ahead. Perhaps the word provision gives us a hint of what's going on here. God will somehow see to it. Maybe Abraham here is starting to second guess God. Maybe Abraham is getting to the spot where he's ready to say to God, I don't know what's going on here, but this is crazy, God. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on in Abraham's mind, and the story God never tells us. We're on that side of the fourth wall, and Abraham is on this side of the fourth wall, and a lot of things happen that we don't quite understand. But the journey is relentless, and we watch. Keep going and going and going and going and going until they finally come to the mountain, and the story slows down and it gets told in incredibly slow language, and you can understand why. Abraham is dreading every moment of this, and Isaac is dreading every moment of this too. The altar is built, takes the wood off of Isaac's back and puts it on the altar, and then he binds his son, puts his son on the altar, and we are watching in absolute horror. This cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. Abraham, when are you going to wise up? When are you going to... But we can't tell Abraham what we know. We know that this is a test. But we don't even know what the test means at this point. We don't know how it is a test. We don't know. We couldn't explain to Abraham what he ought to do anyway. Should he disobey God? Should he refuse to do what God told him to do? Is refusing to do this the test? And would God, in fact, be honored by his refusal? We don't know. But the test is evolving, and we can't interrupt it. Isaac is laid out on the altar, and Abraham raises the knife. You wonder what Abraham should do with the knife, if he should just stick it in his own chest and finish himself off, rather than to go through what God wants him to do. We don't know what's in his mind, but he's got the knife raised, at which point another voice speaks. An angel says, now God sees that your heart is where it needs to be. Now God sees that you are willing to sacrifice even your own son. Now God sees what you are willing to do in order to follow God. So don't harm your son. And then there is that voice that seems to penetrate the fourth wall and invite us to look. Behold, over here, caught in the thicket, is the animal that can be used as the sacrifice. And then the story just sort of trudges off the stage. The animal is taken, put on the altar, sacrificed, they do what they need to do. And Abraham and Isaac trudge back, and they come to where they left the two guys and the donkey, and off the stage they go. They toddle off the stage, and you know what happens when the actors leave the stage. The stage goes dark and the house lights come up. It's not the sort of play you can applaud. It's not the sort of play that at the end of the play you can stand up and cheer. It's kind of a play that leaves you all sort of gut-wrenched, and you sort of sit there and you wonder, what in the world am I supposed to do with this crazy thing? So we sit in kind stunned silence while we wait, and we wait. Finally, somebody gets tired of waiting and gets up and starts walking down the aisle. And then what happens? The person gets about halfway down the aisle, gets ready to leave, and another voice speaks. Hey, get back here. I'm not finished with you yet. What are you doing trying to leave? Get back here and sit down and listen. There is still something else to say. And at that moment, the fourth wall is gone, and now we are all in the play. I have something to say to you yet. The show isn't done. This involves you. Listen. Listen. We don't see the actor, but we hear the voice. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it. Those who lose their life for my sake will find it. Once again, we sit in stunned silence because who can hear such words? Who can obey such words? The difference is that this time isn't a test. The difference is that this time there is no fourth wall. The difference is that this time we are also on the stage. This is not a test. We're playing it for real. This is not a test.